Haha. Always the case. Just make sure we are. And we indeed are. Well, they say all roads lead home. And in this case, it leads us right back to where we started the campaign. Formula 2, our first round, was here at Abu Dhabi, and the final round of FPRL Season 4 for Tier 2 and in general for Season 4. We finish in the twilight zone of Abu Dhabi. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the FPRL, as I mentioned, Season 4 finale for Tier 2. And as also, we are back in Abu Dhabi for the final time. I'm Cruiser 1872, and joining me in the commentary box this evening is the familiar voice of a particular Ferrari driver you all know too well, of David Lawface.
Wagwan, gentlemen, good to be here again. Second night in a row. I couldn't miss the finale, could I?
Absolutely not.
Something about my ego. I have to be involved.
Well, after the Tier 1 excursions last night, it's fair to say that it should be in for another intriguing race also, and a familiar tale as well, in which the main driver championship has actually been sewn up. But the fight for second still goes on.
Yeah, that promises to be an exciting matchup. Of course, last night we did have the second place decided by the narrowest of margins. That's AMS Drive picking it up from Knocker he got on countback. They were both equal on points, and I'm kind of hoping for something familiar tonight. Is it obvious I'm stalling while I'm bringing up the Tier 2 standings?
I wouldn't say it's too obvious, but what is going to be blatant is we're getting underway in qualifying Q1 for the final time, and we're going to go to the Alpine of Groundsey and jump on board with him for a lap of the newly revamped Abu Dhabi circuit. As you will notice from the driver track map in the bottom right of your screen, we've got two new hairpins for this track, which have replaced chicanes, so it opens up a bit more overtaking opportunities as well. But you still have that choke point of turn 5 and turn 6 as Drownsy heading down towards the first new chicane of turn 5. Of course, very familiar and famous, as Crossgate has retired from the race and turn 3's claimed a victim already in this qualifying session.
Yeah, it didn't take long, did it? We didn't actually have any retirees at turn 3 last night, but yeah, looks like we've started early, and well, turn 3 claims yet another victim. Hopefully, means everyone else will be a little bit warier, but well.
Hopefully it's not a recurring theme throughout the evening, particularly for the Ferrari team, who will feel a bit sorely felt for the excursions last time out, which, as mentioned, Noto losing second place on count back to AMS Drive, but shows that even when we're tied throughout a campaign, the smallest moments can come back to haunt you, and I'm pretty sure Object Fungus will be feeling that, as Drownsy a 125.0 for our maiden lap in Q1. Will that be any good? Only time will tell, as I'm seeing multiple yellow flags around turn 3 and an Aston Martin, which could be of Tijim. It is Tijim. He's lost it to the outside of turn 3 and lost his front wing, as we're seeing Legends on their return as well to Tier 2. A 125.6 and Jaffmaster on a 124.7. So currently, although we've just started, it is an Alpine 1-2 as Squid goes into third place on a 125.2 in that Mercedes, and Bolly a bit of a poor lap really, but I believe he's doing a row again.
Yeah, reverse of fortunes to the Alpine team. They didn't do particularly well last night. The Monkey Boy finishing, I think he was out of the points in the end, and the other driver having to retire after qualification, which was a shame. But it's looking not so bad for them at the moment, as they have been dislodged from the front row at the moment.
Indeed, More Leader with a 124.6, and More Leader has shown some good qualifying pace throughout this campaign, as we're just following Stiffmeister around the line, and Phenom, our champion for Tier 2, racing for a bit more pride, and just to make it 5 in a row in our final 5 races for the American, a 124.3, 3/10 leader of More Leader, as we've got a yellow flag in Sector 2. That's looking like one of the Alpha Tauris just slowing down, letting people through. And as well, Silverside Boy, a driver in this fight for P2 this evening, up in 7th place, but I think it's a bit of a sighter lap for the McLaren, as I am seeing a set of medium tyres for Silverside Boy. And while we touched on that fight for second place, I think we should actually run through our driver standings for the evening.
Yeah, we should do indeed, and I had them open a second ago, and I will get them open once again. So, as previously mentioned, we've got the champion. That is Phenom, who's had a phenomenal, you see what I did there? Ending to the season, and yeah, well, he's looking for the 5 in a row, and that would be something special in a tier that's been absolutely. I mean, it's been neck and neck most of the season. It's just towards the end, Phenom's found some form, and he's pulled away. He's on 244 points. In second place, we've got the Mercedes of IFC Pines, sitting on 179 points. That's 65 points off the leader, and there it only gets closer from there. So in third place, we've currently got the McLaren of Silverside Boy. He is 6 points back on 173 points. So that I know he'll be very impressed if he manages to sort himself out. I just witnessed Groundsy having a half spin coming into the pits, but the game's reset him. That's very nice. Janu Vane is the next one, vying to try and get that second position. I think he's the only other person that can get it. So yeah, Janu Vane in the Red Bull, he is back on 169 points. So
Indeed.
second, third, fourth covered by just 10 points, and it's certainly all to play for tonight.
Absolutely, where anything can happen around Abu Dhabi, as we fine well know. And I should say as well a little hello to Matthew, who I believe is well, it's definitely his first race that I've been commentating on for the Haas driver this evening, and I believe it is his first race in Tier 2, as Tiddlewinks made a mistake going under the hotel, and that's the second driver eliminated in Q1 before the checkered flag falls. So Tiddlewink and Cross today, they've got a lot of work to do for the race as we jump on board with the McLaren of Snedden. And while we're going through the championship standings, we were following Shadows for the lap in the Williams on a 125.2, putting them in 8th place, and as well Junuvane, one of the 3 drivers in contention for second place, on a 124.6, up in 3rd place. So that also does show as well More Leader are still second place. The lap time that he has around here is very strong indeed.
Yeah, and as a Ferrari driver myself, I think it would be remiss of me not to mention the fact that Ferrari have been absolutely dreadful in Tier 2 this season. However, More Leader, he had a good result last week, and yeah, he looks like he's showing a decent bit of form towards the end, so maybe he'll be looking to pick up some decent points tonight. Obviously, Crossgree, his teammate, falling victim to turn 3. I just want to mention Tiddlewink, where he crashed out. That reprofiled section around the hotel is a lot trickier than it was last year. At least for me, it is. It seems it's harder to really get the power down, and yeah, it's prone to a mistake. You could quite easily end up in the wall. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw someone else making a mistake around there this evening.
It is a very deceptive part of the track. It isn't a straight, well, I would say a straight left-hand turn because you do have that slight pause in the middle, and as well, the throttle control around this final sector is something you've really got to be careful of. As we're just going to follow Bolly on their second lap, and I get the feeling that might be a bit of a full traction run as Pines a desperate need for a good result this evening on a 124.3, putting them at the head of the table in Q1, and Snedden as well up in what was third place. Bolly has just said thank you, I'll take that for myself, and he now rose up into third place, so a definite improvement there for the Alfa Romeos, who line up 2 and 3 behind the Mercedes of Pines. And with just 7 minutes left to go, we've got Matthew, Tidgem and Poya in the drop zone currently, with Tiddlewink on the cusp of it, despite already being eliminated. So these drivers knowing what time they have to beat, which is a 125.7 to at least get a foot into Q2, but they need to get a proper handhold if they want to feel safe for the remainder of this Q1 session.
Yeah, and I'm watching TJ go around this UR as well. Yeah, he's coming around this very, very slightly off camber section here in the third sector, and he does negotiate it quite nicely, and he's now coming around the final corner. Hopefully, it's not a good time. It's not a good time from the Tidgem. And yeah, I think he's got to come back in and use another set of tyres to get himself out of Q1. Yeah, disappointing there from the Aston Martin man.
There's still 6 minutes left to go, though. It is possible for Tidgem to get out of Q1, but don't know what it is with the Aston Martin team. They started out this campaign so strong, but it's just been a little bit of a meander ever since. They just haven't been a straight line and as straightforward for, well, I would say since Canada really, where both the teammates of Nigel Piddle and Tidgem actually took each other out the race, and from there on in, it's been a little bit of a snowball effect downhill for the team. But hopefully for Tidgem's sake, he can get out of Q1 and get a little bit of comfort for the remainder of the evening, and maybe towards next season, where actually he was leading the championship at one point. So it kind of shows the fall for Tidgem, but hopefully, as mentioned, he can find a bit of that form again this evening.
Yeah, and we'll hop a little bit further up the grid at the moment. I just want to make a note, Nigel Pickle, who is in 8th at the moment, he's on the medium tyres. So he's got himself P8 on those mediums, and it's not a bad time, 24.9 on those tyres. Whether or not it will see him safe, only time will tell, but a good effort from him nonetheless, and I'm sure maybe he wishes a few more things had gone his way this season, because he's definitely a quick lad, and we know he probably could be challenging for the title on his day, even if he is a massive prick.
Well, I'd rather you said that than anyone else said that, considering the staple of the stream layout for you at least, and the 3 famous words.
That is sort of Pickle prick. We're only joking, of course. We're only joking. We appreciate you, Pickle.
Of course, and as you mentioned as well, a very good driver on the day, and on this day, up in 8th place currently, and imagine a 124 Silverside boy, very wide there, going out of turn 9, just keeps it within track limits, but it will cost him a little bit of time going in towards the hotel section. Just going underneath the hotel bridge now for the final few corners, a flat out near turn 16, a slight lift for the McLaren, now hardening the brakes for the final corner, and then taking the really short run to the line. All of his battery used up, and he's up into 9th place on a 124.9, 9 thousandths behind Nigel Piddle, and I have a feeling that should be both the McLarens at least into Q2.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on Poea, who's just behind Silverside Boy on his lap there. She invalidated on the exit of the penultimate corner, so unfortunately for her, she's running out of time. She's got to get back that battery and go once again. It's going to be touch and go whether or not she's gonna get herself out of Q1, which would be probably a little bit of an upset, I would imagine.
Of course, Poya, we have known the pace that they have to offer as Legends, getting themselves well out of danger on a 124.8, so that puts them up into 8th place. And as mentioned as well, Poya, I've noticed as well they're really struggling around turn 3 as Snedden retires from the session up in 4th. They're definitely safe. And a yellow flag up towards the chicane. That's looking like Silverside Boy on a very slow in lap. Might have run out of fuel actually. And as well, Legends backing off, just getting back to the pit, nursing at home, but Poya has to go flat out to try and get a lap on the board that can maybe get her out of Q1, but it just doesn't seem like it's really happening here for the Alpha Tauri, and they're going straight into the pits. So I wonder if Poya will even get a lap time at all.
Yeah, I don't think she's got enough time to come out and improve on that 149. But a driver that is looking to improve his time is Matthew. I think it's his second race in the league. So we'll see if he can get himself out. He's about neck and neck with his time coming through Sector 2. But plenty of time to be gained, I'm sure, in this tough third sector coming around the hotel section now, having to lift quite a lot through that off camber, and there you go. It's so easy to invalidate there, and unfortunately I think that could be his qualifying over unless he ekes something out with 30% worth of battery. It's going to be a tough ask.
It's not impossible though, and he's going to give it a good go, as well as Tidgham, who's currently 3 tenths up on his best lap, but he needs an almighty final sector. He needs to find another, I'd say 7 tenths to 8 tenths of a second to get him out of that drop zone and put Tiddlewink out of Q1 properly, as around the final few corners for the Aston Martin, as we got a yellow flag on turn 3. It's looking like a Williams has ran into the wall, and Tidgham up to the line, and he does it, a 125.5, so that puts him up to P15. He's on the cusp now, but with Matthew's battery situation now at 6%, and as well he's done a lap on those tyres as well, he's got an almighty task to put Tidgham back into the drop zone, so it's going to be a straight shootout between the Haas and the Aston Martin, as we're going to have a look at Matthew's delta time up towards the third sector, and he's 7 tenths down on his best lap, and unless he basically flies around the final sector, I don't think he's gonna have much of a chance to get out of Q1. As the checker flag falls, we've got Crostery, Poya and Tiddlewink already eliminated, but is it going to be Tidgham or Matthew who's going to join our 3 Q1 elects in the drop zone and out in Q1 around the final corner for Matthew? Is it going to be enough for the Haas up to the line? And I think Ivana gave a reluctant surrender, and indeed he has surrendered that place to Tidgham. So Matthew joins Tiddlewink, Poya and Crostery. Very, very surprise exits there in Q1, but Tidgham won't care. He gets through to Q2.
Yeah, very unlucky there for Matthew. So easy to invalidate, so late in the lap, it doesn't give you any time to recharge any battery. And unfortunately that kind of left him with no choice but to do the best he can with what he had left. And well, there you go, end of the session.
And Nigel Credle making a statement, a 123.9. Where's that come from for the Aston Martin?
Well, that's a little bit shocking from the other Aston Martin. Yeah, it's a really good lap. I don't quite know, but he's got himself 4 tenths clear of anyone else. And yeah, we have Pines in the chat saying he doesn't know where his lap came from. Well, Nigel Piggle, don't have a clue where your laps come from, but fair play to you.
Absolutely, from seemingly nowhere, Nigel Piggle, who was already safe, made absolutely sure of it and has made a claim for pole actually. Although it is Q1 and a long way to go, it's it's certainly a sign for Nigel to say, okay, let's see what you've got. And no better time to actually show up as well for Nigel Pirro. Final race of the season, and will want to make his claim for the title next season as well. As we have a look at the 4 eliminators in Q1, Cross today dropping it around turn 3 on their outlap, so didn't get a lap time on the board. Poya just couldn't get turn 3 altogether, and a 140, a 149, safe to say that is not what the AlphaTauri driver can do. Matthew on their second race, it's a Q1 exit for the Haas, and Tiddlewink as well, a very surprise exit in the fellow AlphaTauri. So a bit of a disaster for the team from Monza as we get ready for Q2. Got quite the session ahead of us. Who is going to make the top 10 shootout? As well,
yeah, sorry, mate.
No, sorry, have a quick good evening as well to Bluntblade in the chat saying they can't even beat a 126 in Grand Prix or time trial mode, and there's a reason why you are tier 3. And as well, a perfect time evening to Monkey Boy Kurt in the chat saying, evening lads, can't watch tonight as I'm at work, but up the tier 2s. Been a great season, look forward now to the Christmas break and then season 5. And I think Rada just summed up perfectly there for Monkey Boy Kurt, and indeed, hopefully, an eventful race for the tier 2s. Nigel, not very keen on another campaign, but I suppose if it's anything like his tier 3 campaign, I don't think he'll be complaining for much longer.
Yeah, he's got to stop hitting other drivers off first, though. I think that's the first thing.
As Fernando Alonso famously said, all the time you have to leave the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, Groundsy finding himself out first on the track. He's got plenty of stream time already, so we can see who else has joined the train. We've got more leader, and as you can see on stream, it's Silverside Boy, of course, the guy currently in P3 in the championship, looking to gain 6 points at least on Pines to take that second spot. Pines at the moment showing some good pace in Q1. Silverside Boy maybe struggling a little bit to match the guys near the top, but I think his pace is mostly in the race itself, the ability to keep it clean and keep it facing the right way, which I'm sure Pines won't mind me saying is not really his forte.
I don't think Pines would have any arguments with you really as we get underway for our lap. So actually jump over to the Ferrari of Leader, who set an impressive lap in Q1 on their initial run. So we'll follow the Ferrari around this Jazz Marina circuit. A bit of a lift though around turn 3, and actually get the delta up on screen so we can all see how late on the brakes Leader is. 190 miles an hour before the turn 5 hairpin, and actually you might get a cheeky slipstream here from Drownsy up at the front, as I've seen Aston Martin has made a mistake going around turn 3. I think that could be Tidgham, unfortunately, for one of the Aston Martin team, as Nigel Pirro still in the pits, so he's going to let everyone get their initial laps on the board. And the second DRS zone for Leader, still tucked up nicely behind Drownsy, getting that slipstream effect down towards the second hairpin of turn 9. He's just got to be careful, along with everyone else, just to bring the lap home and set a decent lap, a decent banter lap, if you will. And I see an Alfa Romeo as well going around turn 3. Is that Bolly? It is Bolly once again, struggling with turn 3 on a set of medium tyres. So I think that might be the plan initially for one of the Alfa Romeos. That's going to have to get a bit of a rewrite and a check over, as Drownsy a 124.7, Leader on a 124.6. So that slipstream really helping Leader, but Silverside Boy saying, what slipstream? A 124.6 in himself, and that puts him up into P1 already, as I've seen as well Junuvane on a 124.4. They're all getting ever quicker here around this Yas Marina circuit. Tidgham, it was Tidgham who made the mistake, a 135.6. So that'll need to be him to go again. Then we'll jump over to Snedden, who's just going to start their lap now. We've got a Haas round. That's Legends at the final corners. I think he might have went wide and validated and has went straight into the pits for potentially a new set of tyres. So it's not an ideal start. It's Snedden just starting their lap, and no sooner than that, it's come to an end for one of the McLarens. Dropping it again. Turn 3 is out here taking names this evening.
Yeah, chalk another one up. That is number 2, numero dos on turn 3. As we just see EG46 go through that, no problems for him. But as Fawley comes into the pits, let's have a look. I know TJ's would be going again. Oh, Jaff. What a lap that is. From the Alpine. Yeah, and let's put him 3 temps, 2.5 temps clear, sorry, at the top for the moment. And still some drivers to set their laps, but it's a good strong start for the Alpine man.
Definitely a good foundation to build on for Jaffmaster, who's probably got a lot more pace really in the tank. As another one around turn 3, is that Stiff? No, it's not Stiffmeister actually. Just going on their outlap through the first of the chicanes. And yeah, I think that's just people really on a slowdown lap actually going around turn 3, as I'm seeing on the little track map. Jaffmaster just backing off, but I'm also seeing a particular Red Bull on, what was it, a flying lap I believe? Indeed it is a Red Bull of Junuvane going for a second flying lap already, so they're not wasting any time here. They want to get as much knowledge of this track as they can in the first of the DRS zones down this very, very long back straight, and a place which should be popular for overtaking, but very heavy braking zone into this chicane. Careful not to clobber the curbs, and Junuvane threading it beautifully there in that Red Bull. Now the second DRS zone before the slight lift for turn 9, and we'll have a look at the middle sector split. Whereas Junuvane, in comparison, he's found 3 tenths, 4 tenths in that middle sector alone, and that just shows as well the choke point. Despite it being only 2 straights really for that middle sector, that chicane can be where all your time is won and lost, and even more time to be gained for Junuvane, needing possibly a front row start this evening to help him as best as he can in this P2 championship fight around the final corner now as Jaffmaster dives into the pits. Junuvane making a late dive to the line, and it's a 124.0. So the Junuvane really stretching his legs here and stretching the pace of that Red Bull.
Yeah, really good second lap on those tyres there from Junuvane. I was watching him through it, and yeah, he looks absolutely smooth as anything. He really got to grips with his setup tonight. Of course, he did. I believe he raced last night, maybe. Can't remember. But yeah, we've seen him race among the tier 1s in recent weeks, and yeah, he's definitely shown himself to be up with the best in this tier at the moment. Of course, not completely out of the fight for P2. So, as a reminder, he needs to beat Pines by 10 points, and he also needs to beat Silverside Boy by at least 4. I don't know what the countback is like, mind.
I'll have a quick look at
Gary's
that.
on a 1-1, but pretty sure Junu has, maybe.
Yeah, I believe Junuvane won around Suzuka a couple of weeks ago, and Pines, I believe, has a few victories to their name as well. And speaking of Pines, just about to complete their first lap in Q2, just under half the time left in the session, and Pines 141.7, so that must have been a mistake lap, at least for the Mercedes, who's going to go straight at it once again. We're actually going to follow the Mercedes for their second run, or I should say their first proper run in Q2, and as well, while we're doing that, actually should have looked properly at the standings. So I believe if Junuvain does win this evening, which will be 25 points, he needs to outscore Pines by 15 points, and Silverside Boy, which I believe is by, I say 9. Yeah, I think you would be right. Then that being 4 points, 5 points, give or take, as Pines Tokyo drifting through the chicane. But and I think you're actually right, David. He needs to outscore Silverside Boy by 4 points and Pines by 10 points to take second place in the standings. So a win this evening, or anything above top 5 for the Red Bull, will put him in good stead. But for the other two, it's just about getting as good a result as they can, particularly for Silverside Boy, who's actually up in P5 ahead of Phenom, who I think is actually just about to complete their lap now. Indeed it is. But it's an outlap. As soon as I leave Pines, they made a mistake at the Latifi corner. We all know fine too well what happened there a couple of years back. But Pines, he's really, really struggling here in Q2. But once he gets his head straight and he's fully focused, he's more than capable of getting that lap together.
Yeah, but as for the moment, he's going to have to be a fairly quick turnaround for the Mercedes driver. He's not got long. He's currently sitting in the drop zone in P12. The cut-off at the moment is a 124.7. I have just noticed how close it is between P9 and P10, separated by 1,000th. Of course, last night, I don't think you watched it, Cruiser, because you were at the footy.
Hey, up the Rangers.
We had the top 3 drivers in Q3, I believe, covered by 1,000th of a second.
Just shows the margins.
Absolutely mad.
Just shows the margins as well in these Formula One games as well. Because as well, I think if I remember correctly, as Phenom definitely has a lot more pace to offer. A first driver into the 123.9s in this Q2 session. And I believe that's near enough matched Nigel Piddle's time from Q1. So that just shows how much of a good lap that was for the Aston Martin, as we've got Mercedes leaving the pit lane there. I'd imagine that would be, that's actually a tell a lie, is that Stwid? It was Stwid who just left the pit lane. Their teammate Pines just ahead of them on the track. But touching on what you said here, David, as well, the qualifying margins can be so cruel sometimes, but can also be incredibly exciting, as well as I believe Groundsy's just improved on their time to go up to 4th, so that's now put Stwid on the cusp, albeit 1,000th of a second improvement. But as well, I think we have seen the 1,000th of a second margin, as you mentioned last night out in Tier 1, and a couple of races back around Silverstone, if I'm correct. The Tier 1's Q2, the difference in Q2, 1,000th of a second between P10 and P11. So it just shows every millisecond matters, and any time advantage you can gain counts. It just counts an absolute ton to the remainder of your race.
Yeah, so we've got 2.5 minutes left in Q2. Looking like we're getting almost certainly some form of cut-off time. I'm expecting it to be in and around a 24.4, and that leaves a question mark for quite a few drivers. That's up into 7th, maybe in danger. I don't think that many people will catch Legends, but I've been wrong before, and let's be honest, I will definitely be wrong again in the future. But there's still plenty to watch, plenty to enjoy.
Indeed, we'll just have to wait and find out as we see Silverside Boy going down the back straight, recharging that battery, so I get the feeling they're going to go again for one more run, as Junuvain, Jaftmaster and Groundsy retire in the pit lane. So 2nd, 3rd and 4th respectively, they feel safe enough into Q3, and I would imagine so. But the cut-off as well is going to be something to really have the question mark over. Is Silverside Boy safe? Is Legend safe? And we know that Shadows doesn't feel safe as they are on their outlap, but Squid flying around this Abu Dhabi circuit, just going underneath the hotel, keeps it within boundaries, careful not to go around on the exit as Pines gets himself out of danger on 124.0, putting them up into third. So how would their teammate cope? Going around the final corner for Squid, short dash to the line, and it's only 9th place for Squid, so they're very much in trouble.
Yeah, and not much time to, well, no time to go again, really, as we've got Bawley now coming over the line. And he's displaced Squid. He's gone into P9 himself with a 24.6. And it's becoming a little bit squeaky bum time for these guys towards the bottom. Both Aston Martins in the drop zone at the moment. Nigel's coming around the final few turns. More leader, however, is in front. He will be the next person to come over the line. He's, although, no, he's having to go again, so ignore me. It's Piggle up next.
A much needed lap here for both Aston Martins, but what can Nigel Piggle do up to the line?
That's
And
what Nigel Piggle can do.
indeed, a 123.7. So that is in effect knocked Squid out of Q2 as a teammate touched him very wide around the last two corners. But short dash to the line for the Aston Martin. Is he going to do it? He's just missed out. A 125.1. So that's only 14th for Tidgeon. But the teammate Nigel, an absolute stormer of a lap. More leader on trouble as well. And Shadows, he's 2/10 up and he's dropped it and has to get out of the way very quickly for the Mercedes. And I don't know if Squid is not going to make it. It's a bit too late for the Mercedes. It's only going to be P11. Shadows dropping it at the same place Pines did, and he's just completely obliterated that front wing, just rubbing it in the face of the Williams. And that's going to be 12th for them, so it's only More Leader who can get themselves out of trouble. And is it going to be More Leader or Bawley that's going to get knocked out in Q2? Silverside Boy safe, barely up in 9th place, so the cut off here looking towards a 124.6, maybe even a 124.5. But More Leader just up to the final few corners now. The Ferrari in desperate need of a result. We know how good he is for qualifying pace, but is that going to remain true this evening? It's not a 124.6. He lost time in the final sector, and it's 13th place for More Leader, and Bawley getting through by 0.03 of a second to Squid. So that just shows as well how fine of a margin it is. Barely even a blink of an eye and you would have missed it, and unfortunately for Squid, he's just missed it going into Q3, and Bawley, a very heavy sigh of relief in that Alfa Romeo camp.
Yeah, he had some good pace last week out. He showed some good pace in Q1 here, just squeezing himself through into the top 10 shootout. But yeah, another one man's win is another man's loss, and yeah, More Leader out. He will be team for the race start. Apparently my voice is crackling, so let me fix that.
I think I might have had a bit of crackling. I do apologise as well. It could actually be in my end that the crackling's coming through. I just heard it on the broadcast. Hopefully that has sorted it all out now.
Yeah, I think I've sorted mine out, but we'll find out in a second, I'm sure.
I just don't remember. I think I just don't remember as well. Whenever I get the chance to, I'm going to reset my microphone. And I just did that before our Q3 run, which once again, Nigel ahead of Phenom. So it's no coincidence there. Nigel really showing that pace he has to offer, and Junivane as well up in third, Pines in fourth, and Jaffmaster, the Welshman, showing a lot of pace this evening in that Alfa Romeo. He's been in the top 5 for quite a lot of this evening, but the top 5 won't cut it. It's going to be a pole position shootout for the top 10, so get your predictions in chat. Who is going to take pole this evening?
And while we... sorry.
Oops.
I put a hashtag instead of a...
You could actually do a prediction for this one. Actually, we did trial this in Brazil, but I think we could do pole for pole this evening, just because obviously we know what we are doing. So
Oh, prediction gives you channel points. That's interesting.
there's a new feature that they added a few months ago, I believe, actually coming up over a year ago. Don't I feel old remembering that? So for predictions, you can put out like I think 5 options, or even a 6th option for like a wild card. So while we leave David Lawface to mess around with the new predictions feature, we'll just follow Legends for their first outlap in Q3. And just say as well, Legends on their return. If I had a quick through the archives, I believe this is their first return, or their first race actually, since Zandvoort in the Netherlands. So doesn't seem like Legends has any rust to get rid of, and hoping to make a good statement this evening for potentially a full-time seat properly in season 5, but also to maybe make a claim for a decent midfield runner, or even a title contender as well for the next campaign, and as well give their teammate a good bit of confidence. And should they say as well, our driver draws will be happening very, very soon, so keep an eye out on our socials as well. You'll find us on Twitter, and I believe we just launched a new Facebook page as well. So keep an eye out as that for FP Racing League on our social medias, and you'll find out when we're going live, what tiers of racing, but it should be a recurring theme by now, as it's going to be tier 2s on a Friday. And on this Friday night is Legends going to claim pole as we just get underway for the Haas, and we'll jump on board with them. A bit of a clobber though through the first turn on that curb through turn 2 and turn 3, very gentle. We're down towards turn 5, hairpin, and the sector split, which I do not get up. I completely forgot about that, I do apologise. So we don't quite know what the first sector split is, but there's going to be no difference. It's going to be flat to the floor for the Haas down this very, very long back straight, and an overtaking opportunity as well come the race at the chicane of turn 6 and turn 7. Careful to avoid the curbs, does that very nicely. And then there's quick detection zone and DRS for the second time as Yorkie has joined us. Thankfully, they will make the race start, but they will have to start from last place. And a 54.5 for Legends, so I get the feeling this could be an older tyre set, older tyre on the Haas. Towards the hotel now in turn 12 and turn 13. Bit wider on the curb, but just keeps it within boundaries. Now we're in turn 15 and 16 of last 2 corners on this track. Doesn't abuse the curb too much on the outside. We're in the final corner, and definitely an older tyre run. It's a 125.6, so regardless, a banker lap at least for the Haas, and no problems as such for Legends. Next up over the line is going to be Junivane, a 124.4, which is immediately beaten by Jaffmaster in a 124.1. Now Welshman has really got some pace this evening, as we're going to jump back to the McLaren of Silverside Boy, who's invalidated. It was a 128.2 though, so they're going to go again. Next over the line is going to be the Aston Martin of Nigel Piddle, but another invalidation, and potentially another back off, a 130.8. Yeah, that's going to be another run for Nigel. Next up was going to be Drownsy over the line, a 131.5, so it might have been a bit of a mistake there. And then we're going to follow the 2 Alfa Romeos of Phenom and Bolly. Bolly getting a bit of a slipstream from his teammate, but Bolly once again on a set of mediums, so this is going to be the banker lap for them, as we got yellow flag in sector 2. That is, I believe, for Jaffmaster backing off, letting the McLaren through of Silverside Boy, and now Bolly abandoning that lap going into the pits. But Phenom, a 123.6, so that pace Nigel Piddle had to offer, Phenom has said to the Aston Martin, you've got that to offer, I can play that hand as well. And the sandbags are off for the Alfa Romeo, and he wants this pole position.
Yeah, I do apologise for my quietness. Apparently, you cannot have the word pole in the name of a prediction because it doesn't follow the community guidelines.
Oh,
so
that's a bit of a letdown.
It is first. Let's try that, shall we?
Yeah,
no, this name is not compliant with our content guidelines. Twitch, you need to sort your shit out.
You could try for P1 shootout or so. Oh wait, no, hold on. That's going to be even worse for Twitch guidelines.
Yeah.
Alright, so
Maybe it's one of the names.
I do apologise for that slightly unorthodox dark humour joke
Oh
there.
no, yeah. It was IFC Pines. It didn't like the way that Pines' name was, so that has gone live now. The prediction.
There we
Um,
go. So we have our prediction up, and get your votes in very quickly as it will end before the final laps have begun. And when the checkered flag falls, we will know who takes pole this evening as Phenom invalidates run into the pit lane. Right, Codemasters, can you please fix that, because that's going to get a little bit irritating
yeah, it's not
for the race.
not ideal. I did myself get this the next lap for coming into the pits, which I felt was a little bit rude, to say the least. But anyway, we move on. We carry on, and of course now in Q3, not long left to go. Only 6 drivers having set their laps. So, Cruiser,
Oh,
top threes
Nigel.
tonight.
Nigel dropping it at the exit of the hotel, and I think the Alpine had issues also. So that's not ideal for either of them, as I completely cut you off there. So what was your question? Who's going to be a top 3 this evening for tonight's race?
No, top 3 for quality.
Well, I'm not too sure. I think we'll have to have a look and see what our drivers can do. But Pine's another lap abandoned, so a bit familiar to Q2, but we know the pace they have to offer when it counts. So who would be my top 3? Is Stiffmeister a 124 flat in that Williams, so that puts him second. If I were to choose a top 3, I'd probably go Junivane, Phenom, and Nigel Pedal, but not in that order.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I find it hard to see anyone beating Phenom's time. That's a fantastic time, 23.6. And I'm sure we'll have to keep an eye out on track limits, of course. Not that we kept an eye out on track limits for Phenom, you never know, he could have been a fraud.
Like
Saw it plenty last night, but we
Yeah.
are keeping an eye on it.
And like in particular Alfa Romeo in the Tier 3 race. You know who you are.
And an Alpine. But the Alpine didn't get clipped doing it. But he's not likely to be watching in the chat, so... Race! Oh, someone in my throat, Cruiser.
Yeah, I suppose it didn't ultimately matter, because the man that got a bit too big for his boots, and it cost him a fight for third place. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit too chalky right now. I've completely jinxed myself for the next campaign. With just 3 minutes left to go, we've got a few drivers on their outlaps, and the final outlap of Season 4, as we've got Legends just beginning their lap now. So desperate need for an improvement there for the Haas, but with 3 minutes left to go, might be a little bit too soon actually. Maybe a little bit too soon for Legends to actually be setting this lap, as there's still a lot of more time for the track to evolve, but already a second up on their first lap times after that clobber on the curb. So I think the idea was a rough idea as to what happened to Legends, and maybe as well to Silverside Boy, who's on a 125.4, as I just noticed as well that their outlap marker went away, but they're still on their outlap. I have to look down at the track map for that. Thank you, Codemasters. Please get that fixed. But Legends,
You know they won't.
yeah. Now, what they'll do is that they'll fix it, and then they'll make sure that we're all floating on air. Like the track won't even load in.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking forward to. But we still play it because we all love a good little race. But Legends up towards the hotel. We got yellow flag around the second DRS zone. I think that's Nigel just sizing himself up for the final lap. And Legends on that particular last lap around the final few corners for the Haas. He has a 125.6 on an opening lap, an immediate improvement on his first sector alone. Whereas this going to put Legends at second place and a 123.9. So Legends, he's came out to play this evening.
Yeah, very good lap there from Legends. Second driver in Q3. in the 23s, and I'm sure he'll be pretty glad with that. But of course, the free attempts
Oh!
back.
That was a bit close there for comfort between the particular Mercedes of Pines and Junivane. I think all of them just tripped over each other, didn't know where they were going. Thankfully, they all avoided damage, hopefully, as Junivane and Pines getting ready for our last run. Legends just didn't know where to go, and all three of them nearly came together. Thankfully, none of them did, so I'm seeing as well Stiffmeister staying in the pits. So they're satisfied with that 124, so I don't think they're going to look for improvement, but they could find themselves around mid-table in Q3 if everyone keeps improving. As Silverside Boy goes up to 4th, that's definitely needed for the McLaren camp, but Junivane, he will know that as well as Pines, as they are looking to improve. Bolly looking to get their first lap of Q3 in, and it's only 6th place for the Alfa Romeo. Next up is going to be the teammate Phenom, but he doesn't improve either. It could actually have been for an outlap there, so I fell for the bird again. But we're going to follow this man, Nigel Peddle. He's shown a lot of pace in Q1, topping the table there. In Q2, also topping the table. Is it going to be the hat-trick for the Aston Martin, or is Phenom going to spoil the party as we got a yellow flag down at the turn 5 hairpin? I think that's drivers once again backing off, as I see a particular Alpine blasting past the McLaren of Silverside Boy. That is, I believe, Jaffmaster or Drownsy on their final run, but Nigel really needing to get a lap together, and boy has he ever. He's took Phenom away from provisional pole of 123.6 as the checkered flag falls. Nigel Peddle rises to the top of the standings, but it's still a lot of drivers left to go to get that lap in, as we're going to look down to back straight. Pines and Junivane on that lap, and Pines trying to get a bit of a slipstream from the Red Bull, but we're going to jump up towards Jaffmaster, who's invalidated on that lap, so he's not going to improve from 6th place. So next up is going to be their teammate Drownsy. It's 10th up on their time, but needs to find a lot more, but he's also invalidated as well, going around turn 14, so that's going to be 9th only, even 10th for the Alpine, which looked so good in the earlier stages. Stiffmeister will not improve. Legends backing off as well. They were actually up in their time, but I think they made a mistake going down towards turn 6. Outbrake themselves. Phenom, he's down on their time, so Nigel Peddle currently in prime position for pole. Silverside Boy doesn't improve either, so we're going to look and see Junivane and Pines. Watching these two do on their final runs, as Legends is very satisfied with 3rd. Junivane look to find himself in the top 3, or even better, a short dash to the line for the Red Bull, and he displaces Legends 3rd, and Pines up to the line. It's only 8th place for Pines. So Nigel Peddle making it the hat-trick in qualifying and takes pole for tonight's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Yeah, that was a disappointing lap there from Pines, but fantastic from Junivane, who really puts himself in prime position if he wants to take P2 in the championship tonight. He's put himself in a great position to do so. Of course, so 3 very, very mighty times there, all within pretty much 6/10 of a second, just over 6/10, 6,000ths of a second. Get that right, 3rd time. All very, very close, and yeah, these 3 at the front in a little bit of a league of their own. But Legends putting in a fantastic lap as well. He is on the 2nd row next to Junivane.
Could be a spanner in the works as Legends, but Nigel Peddle doing what he's had to do to make that statement in qualifying and indeed carry that forward for the race. But Phenom as well, racing for that 5th win in a row, and it will be the first time I think that someone has done 5 in a row in Tier 2 throughout this campaign, and a campaign in which nobody could seem to take control. Phenom definitely took control of the Drivers' Championship, but Nigel Peddle has full control for the race. 500ths of a second clear of the Alfa Romeo, and Junivane, a good effort, but only good enough for 3rd place, as we see Stiffmeister in 5th, Silverside Boy 6th, Jaffmaster in 7th, with Pines as well on row 4. Then we've got Bolly and Drownsy 9th and 10th for this evening's final race of Season 4 and of Tier 2.
Yeah, so I've noticed Yorkie's managed to join us. He was a little bit late, so he missed quali. but he will be joining from the back of the grid. Speaking of the grid, let's see if it's raining for anyone.
Oh
It
yeah.
is not.
If for those ladies and gentlemen out there, if you know, you know. And that's just a small idea as to what Toadmasters has given us an excuse for a game. As, actually, while we are waiting for tonight's final round, I feel... Oh yeah, our prediction as well. Nigel Priddle only receiving only receiving 10 votes from Bluntblade, so they would win the prediction. The only person to back Nigel Priddle, as I'm seeing, 900 points were on Pines and 800 were on Phenom. So, Bluntblade, well done. You've won yourself quite a few channel points there, buddy. And if you wouldn't mind redeeming that for a drinks redemption, it would be greatly appreciated. As you know what, drinks are
I
on me.
don't know how to award them, by the way.
Um, I think you should maybe go into like I think it's something like survey or something for the prediction, and then you can cash out from there.
I'll work it out at some point. It's probably on create a dashboard somewhere.
If you, I suppose it is for a bit of a laugh. We could just abandon the prediction entirely. So
Oh, that's really not fair. Can't be having that, surely. I'll,
oh,
I'll, I'll bollocks the setup.
oh
What
no,
have I done?
no, this was a bad idea.
I've done something to my. Community content. Your rewards. Nope. I'll work it out eventually.
If anyone could help us with the predictions, please.
Oh, choose prediction outcome.
There we go, that's it. And we'll be paying out on Nigel Piddle.
Choose outcome was Nigel Pickle. Complete. Complete.
And there we go. Prediction result is Nigel Piddle. So well done, Bluntblade. You've won yourself, I believe that's 1,000 channel points. As the countdown begins.
1,700.
There we go. So that is 3 drink redemptions for the future. And also, if we are clever enough, we can come up with a few more channel point redemptions for Season 5. But that's all about the future, as I'll have a quick drink break before we begin our final formation lap of Season 4. There we go.
What soft drink of choice have you got this week then, Cruiser?
Now, for all I'm Scottish, you were thinking Iron Brew, but nope, good old faithful Pepsi Max.
It cannot be understated. I do love me some Iron Brew, but yeah, Pepsi Max is pretty goated. We get underway on the formation lap then.
And Bluntblade saying a good quick thank you. You made the right call and you won it all, Bluntblade, as indeed we have got underway for the final lap and a bit of a car park actually around turn 1. But they've sorted themselves out, so thanks for the final time. We shall run through the grid for tonight's Tier 2 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix as we get the tyres on screen. There we go. And quite the variety actually. So, do you want to run through the top 10 then, David? I'll run through the bottom 10.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're going top to bottom then.
Bottom to top. As more leaders left the session, they made an invite back. Oh dear.
Right. Do you want to get that started while I get him back in?
Yeah, thankfully that's what we're going to do. So P20 joining us late this evening is the Red Bull of LWS Yorkie on a set of hard compound tyres, looking to go very long in the race. In P19 we have Crosstrade the Irishman in the Ferrari on a set of mediums. P18 is Poya on a set of mediums also, with Matthew keeping her company on row 9. Tiddlewink in P16 as Squid's been disqualified from the formation lap. It's just going from bad to worse for the Mercedes champ. But Tiddlewink P16 alongside him is Snedden on a set of hards, and copying Snedden is Tidgham in P14 in the Aston Martin, P13 Molitor in the other Ferrari, P12 is Shadows, and P11 is the disqualified Stwid Mercedes.
Yeah, so rounding off with the top 10, we've got Groundsy in the Alpine starting on hards, Bully P9 starting on the mediums, Pines in P8. He's got a lot of work to do in the Merc with the mediums, Jaff in 7th on the hards, Silverside Boy P6 on the mediums. In fact, everyone else on mediums, so I won't bother saying. Stiffmeister in P5, Legends in P4, Junuvane picking up 3rd place on the grid, and our front row tonight is the championship winner Phenom and of course Nigel Piggle.
Thank you for that, David. And in the twilight of Abu Dhabi, it's time for the final fight in Tier 2. The 5 lights above the drivers, and it's lights out. And away we go for one more time in Season 4. Nigel Piggle getting a bit bogged down in his Phenom. Get underway in turn 1. No, he's not. He's a bit too far back in towards turn 1. Nigel Piggle getting the start he needed. Junuvane in 3rd, and a bit of a car park as well going in towards turn 1 and turn 2. Jaftmaster having a bit of a poor start on those hards. Finding away with Matthew, making an absolutely storming start. But Nigel Piggle up towards the hairpin still leads the way from Phenom. Junuvane, Stiffmeister making a move on Legends, and Pines as well making a move on Silverside Boy. That's critical for the championship. We'll jump over to this fight. For 6th place, the McLaren and the Mercedes wheel to wheel down towards the hairpin. Silverside Boy using a lot of that battery to get back ahead, and Drowns able to get involved in this fight as well on a set of hards. We're thinking about going 3 wide here in towards the hairpin. Silverside Boy slightly taps Legends in towards the chicane, but no damage has been done. But that's going to compromise him a bit. Going down towards the collision further back. I've seen Molitor and Jaftmaster getting caught up as well, along with Tidgem and Poya. But Molitor and Jaftmaster definitely the two that came out worst in that, as we're seeing as well. As Silverside Boy made a mistake. He has made a mistake. He might have been tapped around by the Mercedes, or he just dropped it on his own slightly. But that's now 9th place for the McLaren, and a horrible start for Silverside Boy. We've got more yellow flags, and it's Pines. Pines made a mistake as well. I wonder if he's made contact with someone.
Silverside Boy did hit him as he was rolling backwards, and I think that's front wing damage. And yet the McLaren is in, so it's been a dream start for Junuvane, who's held position. Both his challengers to P2 surely both going to end up in the box at the end of this lap. Pines has let go again on the last corner. He wasn't coming into the pits, but it could very well need to now. Looks like he was having a bit of a mess coming out of that last corner. But no, it looks mostly intact, his front wings, so hopefully that's not indicative of some side pod damage with the contact with Silverside Boy earlier on. I hope not anyway, but yeah, some drama to say the very least on lap 1 in this Tier 2 finale. I'm gonna take a quick look and just let you know who's won, who's lost. I think Proskary is up 9 positions, so he's doing very well. He's up in P10 at the moment. Snedden also doing very well, up in P6. Poe, despite being caught up a little bit in the incidents down at turn 5, finds himself up 6, and Yorkie, starting a bit late and joining us to the race, is up 7 places in P13.
Indeed, a very strong start for all of those drivers, particularly Croskery, already up into the points, as I think Molida might need another invite back to the lobby, as Legends into the pits from 7th place. That could be for front wing damage, as DRS is activated. And as Pines again made another mistake? He has, Pines! It's been an absolute disaster for the Mercedes, and Pines is out! Pines is out of this race!
Oh, Pines, he always just, he would have won this title had he have not just came in and retired every single time things don't go his way. and that is a big sadness for Pines, who looks likely to lose his P2 in the championship, and quite possibly won't even come P3. Though at the moment we've got Silverside Boy, who's the man who would displace him. He needs to get a move on. He's going to need at least 7 points to get himself in front. So by my calculations, that is P6.
Indeed,
1 point, 2
that
point,
would
4
be,
point, 6 points, 8 points, yeah.
that would be P6 that Silverside Boy needs to take the place away from Pines, but all Junuvane needs now is a P5, and he'll find himself displacing Pines, I believe, on countback. But we're going to look back and see Legends again. It was a brilliant qualifying, but it's all fell apart. Starting 4th, he's now down in 18th place, and it's just not went well for the Haas at all at the start of this race. But as well, on lap 4, Phenom looking to get past Nigel Piddle. He's got a DRS in towards the chicane, and he's too far back to really think about an overtake. But this chicane and then the run down towards turn 9 is where potentially more likely you're going to make an overtake. Just this continual run. We jump on board with Nigel Piddle and see how much battery he's drained already to keep ahead of the Alfa Romeo in towards turn 9. But he's keeping that gap at around 0.3 of a second, so he's doing what he has to do to hold up Phenom as Crossray, the first driver in this race to get a penalty. But Pines as well, retiring and saying as well in the chat, he did get damage, I think, from that collision with Silverside Boy. I don't think through any fault of their own. But it's an absolute barn door now for Junuvane, who knows third place is more than enough to seal second place, with Phenom up ahead, capable of towing him along. If Junuvane can just keep within DRS range, we could be in for a very interesting fight up at the front. Junuvane fighting for second place, Phenom looking for that 5th victory, and Nigel Piddle getting a 3-second time penalty, but still holding the lead of the race. I believe looking for his first race victory in Tier 2, but he's just made that task a lot more difficult for himself in the remaining 25 laps.
Yeah, I was looking further back on the grid. That last lap was Squid's made a mistake. He's lost it turn 2. I saw Karosky make a really sweet move on Snedden through turn 9. Unfortunately, he did then pick up another penalty, another time penalty already, so it's not ideal so far from the man from Ireland. But he's having some good racing, so I'm sure that's all you really want, even if you can't keep it between the white lines.
And as well, Shadows there riding on board with the Williams, getting past Snedden. That fight is for 8th place, so Shadows getting past the McLaren and on a bit of a charge as well, as we're seeing as well. Legends has retired from the race as well, so they are out. They might have picked up damage as well, as we get rid of the positions graphic for the time being. And Frostery too, despite that time penalty, what a strong 5 laps it's been for a Ferrari, starting down in 19th place already up to 7th, and he's definitely got some pace in that cockpit, ready to mount a challenge on Stiffmeister for P6, and Bolly as well, not too far ahead of the Williams as well in 5th. But Drownsy as well, a bit of a lonely race right now for the Alpine, 6 seconds behind the front 3, as we got a yellow flag around the final corner as Swed enters the pits. That might be for a new front wing. And Poya, their setup just hasn't been suited to this track. They've been losing it everywhere for particularly around turn 3, and now going around turn 16 as the Alpha Tauri, I think, rather limps into the pits, and that puts Silverside Boy up into 12th as Poya retires from the race. So Silverside Boy, he has made that pit stop, but can he make these tyres last to the end? He's got to do 28 laps on a set of hards. Is it possible? I think really only with a safety car.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a big ask, and I think if you're still a side boy, you're praying for a safety car some point towards the end of this race, as he's now 13 seconds off the back of More Leader, who I believe is now back in the session, thankfully. I want to talk about Groundsy very quickly. He is dropping off dropping off these front guys. The time is around 7 seconds now, so definitely dropping off. However, he's doing a very good job to get those hard tyres to keep his position. He's got Bully 2 seconds behind now, and I'm sure the drivers behind will be being held up just a little bit by Bully's defensive manoeuvres. So for the sake of all of their races, I think the best thing to do would be to maybe just let the guys pass if you're Bully. I get the feeling that he might not have a choice as we come on to the DRS straight here at the back of the track. And there you go, there's the Williams making a move on Borley. Will Morley be able to follow him through? No, he will not. Borley's going to go for the switch back. But yeah, nothing doing. Stiffy just too good out of that corner. And now it is, sorry, it's not Morley there, it is Croskery. I don't know why I said Morley there. Matthew picks up a time penalty, he's down in 12th at the moment.
Did a good move there for Stiffmeister, getting past Bolly where he had to, but Bolly as well, very content to sit behind the Williams and Shadows as well in the other Williams. Bolly and Crossery, a bit of an Italian sandwich if you will, between the Williams and now Crossery all over the back of the Alfa Romeo's rear wing, but Crossery as well, he's very eager to get past Bolly and try and catch up with Stiffmeister, who alone in that last sector gained almost a second on Bolly as well. Snedden too, running in 9th place, a bit of a quiet race so far for Snedden on a set of hard compound tyres as well, and he's just got to be careful as well with the track limits there. But it's going to plan so far for Snedden and for Yorkie as well, starting in last up to the points as well. And Silverside Boy 22 seconds down as well. Actually, we can have a look at the front here. We've got a fight here between Nigel Piddle and Phenom, and Phenom getting past the Aston Martin in towards the braking zone. We just missed it on the broadcast, but Nigel was going to look to try and fight back in towards turn 9, but Phenom, we just need to see as well the amount of battery he has left in that Alfa Romeo, just under half the battery left, while Nigel Piddle used up all of his to try and stay ahead. But on lap 8 of this race, Nigel Piddle is not going to stay any further in front. Now he's been the one doing the pursuing, as Phenom looks to make it 5 of a kind, and this race so far has been going kindly for the Alfa Romeo as Stwed retired from the race, and a disaster for the Mercedes team. Both of their drivers out, and we're not even halfway through this race, as Phenom still holds the lead here, but Junivane 1.1 seconds back from this fight, so he's just out of the RS range when the time arrives. But Drownsy too, as you mentioned, he was running a steady race in 4th, but now that Stiffmeister has been released behind Bolly and Crossery getting past Bolly also, they've caught right up to the back of that Alpine.
Yeah, and it's good that Croskery got that move done when he did, and that's allowed him to stay within the 1 second of Stiffmeister in front, and that means that he will have the DRS assistance. And just coming around the exit of turn 3, we see that Borley does indeed not have the DRS. I think Yorkie's made a mistake, maybe?
Yeah, Yorkie dropped it around turn 3, and as well Shadows making the move on Bolly, and in the space of 3 laps here, the Alfa Romeos went from 5th down to 8th place, and Snedden's starting to catch up to the back of the Alfa Romeo too. We're going to have a look at this fight here for 4th place. Drownsy and Stiffmeister looking like it's going to remain that order in towards turn 9, and indeed it is. Drownsy just enough of a gap between himself and the Williams, but Yorkie making that mistake around turn 9, that's really dropped him further back from Snedden. Now 10 seconds between himself and the McLaren, and Silverside Boy gained up 10 seconds alone in that first sector, so that just shows as well how costly one mistake can be, whether that be a spin or a misinput as well. So Yorkie, despite having a decent start to this race, a little bit of a slight twitch and a bit of a wobble as we make our way to the halfway point, as I'm actually going to look at the tyres too and see that Drownsy on those hard compound tyres, they should start to get into this race a little bit more now, as we're seeing Mo Leader as well having a right old tussle here with Tiddlewink going around turn 9, these two wheel to wheel, and up towards the turn 10, 11, turn 12, Tiddlewink going to throw it up the inside as well, these two giving brilliant respect to each other, but no love lost on track. Tiddlewink muscling his way past Mole Leader, but is still going to look to go wheel to wheel. And Tidjum as well has just said, thank you very much, I'll get past Mole Leader in towards turn 16, but Mole Leader fighting back as well. This is a sensational fight for 13th place here. Tiddlewink, Mole Leader and Tidjum, and it's going to remain that way in towards turn 1, but Tiddlewink is now ahead of this train, and Draftmaster, after that disastrous start as well, he's starting to close up as well. There's fights all over the field here as well. At the back of the field and at the front of the field, Phenom still holding off Nigel Piddle, but Junivane has switched on that ERS battery and he's caught right up to the back of that Aston Martin. And then in the midfield too, we've got a 4-car battle for 4th. It's going to be so hard. It's going to be really hard to keep up here with all the action.
Yeah, all aboard the Groundsy train in this third sector. Groundsy really, I wouldn't say struggling for pace, but yeah, there's a lack of overall pace in that hard tyre.
Oh,
and you can really tell.
He just dropped it going through the chicane. Mole Leader just done enough to avoid it, and at the detection zone where Tiddlewink spun, Mole Leader isn't going to get a DRS. Now Tidjum looking to size up a move on the Ferrari round the outside and towards turn 9. Tidjum on the medium tyres, Mole Leader pitting for a fresh set of hards to try and go to the end, and that fresher rubber helping Mole Leader get up to 13th place and just hold it ahead of the Aston Martin. But Tiddlewink, that's a massive mistake for the Alpha Tauri. Just lost it completely in the traction zone and was sent doing a donut, and he's going to be doing nuts in that cockpit, now down in 16th place and a long way to go if it wasn't already for Tiddlewink.
Yeah, so down to the back of the pack. It's not been a very good race either for the Alpha Tauri team. Boe, of course, retiring earlier on in the race. Tiddlewink finds himself at the back at the moment. Of course, there are other drivers to pit, but I think it's going to be, well, it's going to be an exciting second half of the race for certain, as it looks like Baldy's got a new name in his rear view mirrors.
Indeed, Snedden looking to get past the Alfa Romeo, and the other Alfa Romeo of Phenom, the first to blink up at the front and get rid of those medium compound tyres. 11 laps he managed before he's making his pit stop, and the Alfa Romeo crew serving our champion and out of his pit box as well. And we're seeing too, I think everyone's making a change in the midfield. We've got Crosstery, Shadows and Bolly in the pits as well, so Alfa Romeo pulling a double stack here on both of their drivers. Phenom should emerge in 6th place. He's got enough of a buffer to Yorkie after he had that spin a few laps ago, and indeed a very comfortable 6th place for Phenom. And now it's down to Nigel and Junivane to decide what they're going to do. I'd imagine the chances are they're going to make this pit stop, and as well Crosstery and Shadows making their pit stop out in 8th, 9th and Bolly out in 10th, and Silverside Boy having to make that pit stop on lap 1. So they've got a bit more work to do. He's got to try and catch up to these drivers on their outlap and try and catch up to the field around them and try and get 6th place here. So he's really going to be hoping for that safety car.
Yeah, of course, a lot of work left to do for Silverside Boy, but you never know what might happen. We've been all action-packed so far, so yeah, absolutely, you can be sure that there's more to come.
And indeed, Nigel and Junivane taking this chance to make their pit stop and try and protect themselves from Phenom's outlap. But it should be mentioned as well that the outlap on the hard compound tyres is absolutely terrible on this game. No other word for it. But Phenom crossing the start-finish line now. Nigel and Junivane making their way out of the pit lane. Now this is going to be a bit closer here than I think they would have wanted. But Phenom getting the warm-up lap in. Nigel just leaving the pit lane now. Where are they going to emerge? I think Phenom, there is Phenom. He's got enough of a gap between himself and the Aston Martin. But is he going to be within DRS range for Nigel Piddle? He's just within DRS range. But Junivane, rather importantly in this case, isn't. So Nigel getting a brilliant exit out of the pit lane. And he's built that gap between himself and Junivane and now has DRS to help himself in this tyre warm-up. As we got a yellow flag in Sector 3. Both Tidjum and Draftmaster going into the pits, and I'm not too sure what's going to happen here. This could be a planned pit stop for both of them, and going to go into a set of hard compound tyres for the end. And I think a fairly familiar situation for quite a few of these drivers. They'll be hoping for that safety car as Tiddlewink. Another mistake going around turn 3. Yeah, and a minus a front wing too. For the AlphaTauri, it's just went from bad to worse for the AlphaTauri camp, and along with the Mercedes camp, they'll be feeling like a race to forget for both of them, to be honest.
Yeah. So we got just one driver left out on the mediums. No, we don't. He's coming into the pits. That is Stiffmeister. 13 laps on those medium tyres, and we'll see if the overcut has worked for him. The leaders have gone through already, so only time will tell. Groundsy inherits the lead of the race then from Snedden behind him, and then here's the real leaders, and they are going at it. People around the outside, maybe that pulls out, but now down this start-finish straight, I'm sure. Yeah, Phenom does have the DRS from Snedden, and Snedden not going to put up a defence for these guys here, although he's gonna slot himself in between the two drivers, which of course he is entitled to do. It is to track position this, and Snedden, of course, rivals last season with Nigel Piggle, maybe doing a favour. But Nigel really, you could tell he's got the better rubber as he powers out of turn 9 and around the triple right-hander, and he takes the position. Oh, Tiddlewick, was that?
And Nigel's went round!
Oh, Nigel, no!
I wonder if Tiddlewink being parked there might have distracted Nigel, and he's been sent spinning in almost. Did he hit Yorkie there?
I don't think he did, but it was blooming close.
It was mightily close between the Red Bull and the Aston Martin, but that now means Junuven has got a free overtake here in Nigel Piggle up into what is currently a net 4th, with Drownsy still leading the way, 2.5 seconds ahead of Phenom in 2nd, but Drownsy yet to make that pit stop, whereas Phenom has. Snedden in 3rd, also yet to make that pit stop, but Junuven as well making that pit stop, currently in 4th, and the DRS now for the Red Bull should be enough to get him past the McLaren down this very long back straight. And I think Snedden, I think it's half a reluctance, half of a surrender really for the McLaren, and it's full charge for the Red Bull of Junuven, who now sets his sights on Phenom and potentially another victory. But Snedden going to try and fight back here in towards turn 9. Now he's got a DRS, and a bit of a mind games here for the McLaren, but I think he knows where his race lies. He's backed off and let Junuven through. So now it's between Junuven and Phenom. Who's going to take the victory in Abu Dhabi as we reach half race distance? Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, so just a quick update on P2 in the drivers' standings, and as it is, Junuven will take P2, and, well, Silverside Boy currently going to be in P4. Because of that, he needs to make some time up, needs to make some positions up as Crossgrey picks up another 3-second time penalty, and yeah, he went half the race without picking up another one, but yeah, it's starting to rack up a bit now for the Ferrari driver.
As we've seen on the penalty graphic as well, 9 seconds for Crossgrey, despite running in 8th place. That right now will put him outside the top 10, actually tail line, that will put him down in 10th place, will the Irishman. So regardless though, it's a very strong recovery drive for Crossgrey. We've seen to Nigel on a 3-second time penalties, along with Shadows in 7th place, having that fight with Crossgrey. We're actually going to follow this fight for a little bit longer here. Crossgrey gaining on the Williams in front, jumping on board with the Ferrari in towards the chicane, turns 5 and towards turn 6 and turn 7. Shadows a little bit deeper, that's going to compromise him on the exit, and Crossgrey looking to get a DRS immediately in towards turn 9. On 9 seconds of penalties is Crossgrey. Bally in 9th place on no penalties, Stiffmeister 10th on no penalties as well. Crossery looking to get past, but Shadow's parking that Williams very nicely there to defend against the Irishman. And going in towards the third sector once again, it's a familiar tale for Crossery. He just can't quite get past the Williams in front.
Yeah, try as he might, he's going to have to be a bit more wily than that. Shadow's defending very well through turn 9. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, there's definitely some gaps beginning to appear. Stiffmeister has not had... He's not come out in the ideal position. It's currently P10. But I know he'll be looking to move further forward as the race progresses. I think we've seen a move for the lead. I should say sort of lead, as Groundsy does indeed get passed by Phenom Genuvain right behind, and I bet right now Phenom is begging Groundsy to hold Genu up just a corner or two to get him out of the DRS. Genu's not going to be close enough to go for a move into this DRS, into this braking zone, so maybe that might be the opportunity that Phenom needs to break out of this 1 second.
Definitely hoping.
Crucial.
Oh, sorry about that. It is going to be crucial for this race, David, as Phenom already building that 1 second gap between himself and Groundsy, yet to make that pit stop, and I think that time is now for the Alpine, and indeed it is on lap 17. Groundsy making their first and only pit stop in this race. That should put Snedden up into what is a net third, but he's yet to make that pit stop as well. Genuvain 1.5 seconds behind Phenom in this fight for P1. And we're going to look as well and see where is Groundsy going to emerge. He did take the early hit of starting on the hard compound tyres, and with the gap in the field, he should be out in P8 ahead of this fight between Bolly and Stiffmeister, and Silverside Boy still mired down in 11th place. And as the laps go by, he's running out of time to make an impact on
pits.
P3, and that is going to be a second pit stop for the McLaren. So it's going to be to the end of the race here for Silverside Boy, but he should be out in 13th place as Matthew. Actually, he's going to be out in 12th place here, as Matthew gets a 5 second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That collision on lap 1 between himself and Pines really costing the McLaren dearly.
Yep, the other McLaren getting on with his day. It's 17 laps he's done on those hard tyres. He's definitely struggling. He's already lost 6 seconds to Genuvain in front of him, and Nigel Pickle is the man closing up rapidly, as also Shadows as well. Gonna look. Snedden stays out for another lap. Could be trying to one-stop to the stops. That'd be an interesting tactic. Yorkie does the same. So I think, yeah, Yorkie's staying out yet another lap in P6 at the moment. More leader in P11 picks up a 3 second time penalty. And, well, it's going to have to be hammer time for Silverside Boy at the moment. Second place is effectively gone, but third place still within his grasp. He needs to really get moving. Well, he needs a bit of a miracle, if we're being honest.
Never say never, particularly around Abu Dhabi. But it's cross today as well, getting past Yorkie in towards turn 6 and up into 6th place now for the Irishman, who's actually lost out to Shadows, getting past Yorkie the lap before, and as well, two people are no strangers to each other here, Snedden and Nigel Piddle. These two really having a good fight here for third place. Snedden not made in this pit stop yet, while Nigel has, so it's a bit of a misfight really, but Snedden not letting that favour the Aston Martin too much, and he's not giving up third place easily without a fight, as Nigel another 3 second time penalty, so that's really put pay to his race, and Snedden still holding up the Aston Martin behind him, and now he goes into the pits. So I'm guessing the run for softs was just a little bit too far for the McLaren, but still an incredible first stint to get those tyres 20 laps, as we're going to look as well and see Yorkie. He's still persisting on staying out, so this is really going to be the ultimate safety car gamble, as Drowsy takes the fastest lap of the race on a 1:26.8, and where's Snedden going to emerge? And get the feeling he's going to be out ahead of more leader, so Snedden should be out in 10th, I would imagine, yeah, in 10th place, just leaving the pit lane now, and that's the McLaren, still in the points, but a lot to go, as Matthews retired from the race at the exit of turn 9, and that is the safety car we were after.
Oh, hello.
And Snedden, I think he's ruined his mistake, but this has been an absolute godsend for Yorkie. He was definitely holding out for times like this, but now, is it too late in the day to take softs to the end? And I get the feeling here, that which Diamond proved in the Tier 3 race, I get the feeling it's a little bit too far.
Yep, I can only agree. I think if you're going on the softs from here, you're absolutely mental. 4 or 5 laps tops, so it should be mediums to the end for Yorkie. I'd be very surprised if he went on to the softs, but then again, I've been wrong before. I still think it'd be
This is interesting. Junuvain has stayed out, but Phenom is in the pits. So Junuvain doing opposite to the Alfa Romeo. He is wanting his victory badly, but what tyres is Phenom going to go on? It's a set of medium tyres, potentially a fresh set of medium tyres which he had left over from qualifying. So that's really swung the pendulum back in favour of the not the Aston Martin, excuse me, the Alfa Romeo. Pardon me, ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very rude of me. But Shadows as well, up into second place. A very, very quiet race for Shadows, and he's now found himself up into the podium places. Drowsy too. He's been a little bit, I wouldn't say off the pace, but he's been running his own pace in this race in 4th. Botley now in 5th, Stiffmeister 6th, and Nigel Piddle out in 7th place. Crossley in 8th, Yorkie making that pit stop in 9th, and Snedden should still maintain 10th. A Silverside boy back into the pits. So this could be for another set of medium tyres, as Mo Leader, he's taking the gamble on softs, which I don't think's the right call here for the Ferrari camp, which I suppose seems fitting for Ferrari to make that type of strategy call.
So both Ferraris have gone the soft route. Obviously, Crosby had plenty of soft tyres to spare, so that'll be a completely fresh set of softs on his car. I still don't think they'll make it to the end. However, More Leader, I don't think they will be fresh softs. I think he would have used all the sets he had for Q1 and Q2. So maybe they've got a lap of wear on them, but I don't see this ending well in the Ferrari camp.
I suppose trust Ferrari to make that sort of strategy call, but I'm seeing too that Bluntblade saying that 3 laps behind the safety car, the softs can go to the end. But they can go to the end, but how much grip will you have for the final few laps of the race? Van Silverside Boy 2 in the chat saying 9% tyres, perfect. Well, I suppose it is a fresher set of medium tyres to the end, as we have caught up with the safety car queue. Jaffmaster too, this is really going to help him, but Tidgham, he's being let out behind the safety car. Go on the Burt Martlander. So Tidgham's going to catch up to the back of the queue, and in 14th place he could... Oh, what?
That's fine. I guarantee he will take the 5 seconds rather than being a lap down.
How has he managed to get a 5-second penalty for passing on the safety car when he's been let by the safety car?
I suspect he might have been behind, you know?
Oh my... yeah, nah.
And
no.
Possibly let him past.
But Mo Leader back in the... I wonder if Mo Leader made a mistake on their outlap. They're back for another set of softs, and that's put Silverside Boy up into P11. So both McLarens here are both in the points and in the fringes of the points. So and with the penalties 2 up front, and still with drivers potentially in multiple warnings, this might not be the final order of the race, as on lap 22, under the safety car conditions, Junuvain holding the lead of the race for now, but Shadows finds himself in second, and Junuvain will be begging that Shadows holds up Phenom as long as he can, And of course, Phenom and Shadows, they're no strangers to each other in Tier 2.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look to see how the McLarens are doing for track warnings. That's one for Snedden, one for Gary. Two for Gary. Yeah, so 2 warnings for Silverside Boy, 1 warning for Snedden. So as long as they can keep it going, it's going to be pretty much a position gain. As long as they can keep it tidy towards the end of this race, as Silverside Boy. Oh, excuse me. Yes. I forgot what I was saying. I was distracted, but it can't have been that important anyway.
I believe we were going to talk about
caught up now.
Yeah, I believe we were going to talk about what Fishsticks is rephrased in the chat too, saying that Silverside Boy needs 6th place to keep 3rd in the championship. And with 2 drivers already on 6 seconds of penalties or more, that's really going to put both McLarens up towards P8 and P9. And Snedden too, if he was a good teammate, he would let Silverside Boy through to get the points he needed to make sure he stayed within a chance of the top 2 or the top 3.
Well, that would be controversial, wouldn't it?
Oh, so yeah, I forgot because it's McLaren, so it would be controversial, Nigel. Or not tell I no, it would be biased to give team orders for McLaren.
I don't think. Well, we obviously can't give team orders, but if Snedden decided to not get out of the way of his teammate.
Oh.
Speaking of Snedden getting out of the way of his teammate,
he's done more than that. He's let through Mo Leader and Jaff Master, so that is quite the mistake.
This lap as well.
So that's quite the mistake for the McLaren. And Tidgham, he's not. I don't think he's going to catch up to the queue here. He's just going down the chicane of turn 6. Everyone going through turn 9. It's going to be very close here for the Aston Martin to catch up. But if Junuvane backs up the pack enough, Tidgham might get to the back of this train, as we're going to have 6 laps left of this Abu Dhabi Tier 2 Grand Prix. Junuvane knows exactly what he needs to do, as Legends has left the session, but they are already out of the race. But Phenom on the fresher, faster rubber, Junuvane on the older hards. Sounds a bit familiar, doesn't it? As we've got just a few laps remaining. It's not going to quite be the 1 lap shootout in 2021, looking at Verstappen and Hamilton, but it's going to be a 6 lap sprint for Junuvane and Phenom, and also for Shadows too. Who's going to take this victory? Junuvane leads them over the line, and Phenom, what a relaunch that is. He's already wheel to wheel with Shadows, but he's had to let him through because he passed him before the line. Now he's going to get him towards turn 1, and Phenom still wheel to wheel with Shadows. He gets past him. We got collision further back. I think Crosstree's came to blows. He came to blows with Nigel. So the 2 drivers on the penalties, and Crosstree a bit slow going past there, saying, "What did you do? Nigel, you've ruined our race." I'm not quite sure if he said that in that turn of phrase, considering I'm not going to go there. But anyway, Junuvane still 0.3 of a second clear, weaving down his back straight, trying to break the slipstream, and Nigel has been disqualified from the race. I think that was more of a rage quit for Nigel, but Phenom looking to launch it in towards the chicane, too far back. And Drownsy too getting past Shadows, and Stiffmeister and Yorkie getting a bit closer on track as well towards that chicane. But the main fight for P1 here is Silverside Boy up into 7th place, as Stiffmeister's made a mistake squabbling with Yorkie. So Junuvane and Phenom still be able to win, but Drownsy looking to have a go in towards Phenom, in towards turn 9, still on board with the Alfa Romeo, the Alpine to their inside, and Drownsy looking to throw a spanner in the works here. He's dropped past Phenom up to 2nd place, throws the Alpine. I'm losing my voice here, but Drownsy still holds it ahead of Phenom, round the outside towards turn 14, and Junuvane now has that cushion once again, but Drownsy spun it again, and he's took people with him. He's took Bolly and Shadows with him, and that's Silverside Boy up into P5. He's in contention for 3rd place.
Oh, it's all going on here on lap 24. I'm going to try and let you catch your breath, but I saw more leader get past Silverside Boy earlier on in the lap, but that incident in the hotel section has really cost some drivers as shadows now retires in the pits. Croskery retires in the pits. Groundsy retires somewhat in the pits. And yeah, it's been a mixture of fortunes up and down the grid. We've only got 10 drivers left in this session. Fishsticks in the chat saying that looked messy. It did indeed. And well, it's gonna be one. Have we peaked too soon? I think we might have peaked too soon, Cruiser.
Well, still with 5 laps left to go, it's going to be drama right to the end here. Junuvain holding on for dear life ahead of Phenom. Yorkie finds himself up in 3rd from last on the grid. He could potentially win this race too. Mo Leader in 4th on those softs, but he's got to hold off Silverside Boy for P5. But Mo Leader carrying that penalty, so Silverside Boy knows he doesn't have to make that overtake if he doesn't want to. Bolly in 6th place on 13 lap Old Hards. Got Jaftmaster on a brilliant recovery too, up to 7th place. Snedden in 8th, Tidgem 9th, and Stiffmeister going to be a very lonely 10th place as things stand. But Yorkie on the fastest lap of the race. This is going to be a brilliant 3-car battle for the lead, but 2 Red Bulls squabbling with the Alfa Romeo as Groundsy has left the session, unfortunately. But I'm going to take a quick break from the action and say a big thank you to Tundranox in the Twitch chat, subscribing with Twitch Prime. So thank you for that, Tundranox, and welcome to FPRL. But welcome to the final 4 laps of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Phenom with DRS against Junuvain. Yorkie with DRS against Phenom in towards the chicane. Yorkie, Phenom, Junuvain, the 3-2-1. And is it going to be the 1-2-3 into the chicane? It is going to be that order for now. But Mo Leader really struggling on those softs. As Silverside Boy is caught right up to the back of that Ferrari. He's still in contention here for 3rd place. Despite Junuvain winning this race, Silverside Boy just needs to get P6 or better to displace Pines, who retired on the opening lap of this race. And Phenom making a move around the outside. Making a move in towards turn 9, and he does get the move done, so it's Alfa Romeo heading. The 2 Red Bulls and Yorkie being let through by Junuvain, a bit close for comfort, very late on the brakes for Yorkie, but Junuvain not fighting that battle where he needs to, because he knows he's got 2nd place secured. Actually, tell a lie, does he have 2nd place secured? Because if Silverside Boy gets P4, does Silverside Boy get 2nd place here? David, you have to look at that for a minute, but Yorkie and Phenom looking to throw a spanner in the works here.
So Junu's currently getting 15 points. He is 4 points behind Silverside Boy as it is. So Silverside Boy is going to get P4, which is 12 points. And that would mean Silverside Boy gets P2 in the championship. As things stand, the Silverside Boy has overtaken Mo Leader. Mo Leader goes up the inside back. I'm sure he won't thank him for that, and I think Mo Leader is the one with the DRS. Yes, he is. And Silverside Boy won't want this battle at the moment because Junuvain really needs to catch back up to the 2 guys in front fighting. Will there be team orders at Red Bull? Because if Junuvain comes P2, he gets P2 in the championship. Oh, this is drama. This is drama. It's Brazil all over again.
What will Red Bull do? But what Silverside Boy is doing, he's got himself in contention. He's got past Mo Leader, I think a bit reluctant as well for the Ferrari to let him through. He did fight that battle as long as he could, but he knows where his battle lies. And Snedden too getting past Bolly, now up to 6th place for Snedden. But with just 2 laps left to go here, you've got a Red Bull fighting for the victory, Phenom fighting for the victory with Yorkie, but Junuvain, in context of the championship, is Yorkie going to let him through? Because Yorkie, he's not, I don't think he's won a race in Tier 2 either. Phenom looking to make it 5 in a row. Junuvain looking to make it P2 in the championship. Silverside Boy is doing all he can to get 2nd place, and Pines is ruining the absolute barn door opportunities gave both the Red Bull and the McLaren, which both of them have took the initiative very well. So the yellow flag in sector 1, that's Tidgem who's been spun round at turn 2, that's to put him down in 10th, and the sole point for the sole Aston Martin left in this race. As you know, look now, Yorkie,
the DJ as well, yeah.
Yorkie gaining towards the chicane, Phenom, both of these drivers on the same age of tyre, 7-lap old tyres, they both pitted under the safety car. Yorkie started on the hard compound tyre, Phenom has made 2 pit stops in this race. where Junuvain did the opposite, it seems like the opposite wasn't quite right for Junuvain. He's just losing out in this fight all the time. In Yorkie, I don't think Team Games will benefit here. If Junuvain wants to get P2 in this championship, he's got to get past Phenom if Yorkie gets past him as we get towards the final lap.
Yeah, and it's all down to the wire. How the turntables once again. And, well, it's down to the last lap. Will Yorkie overtake Phenom? Will he drop back and allow his teammate through? Will Silverside Boy catch up 4 seconds to Junuvain? Probably not. But it's all very exciting as we come around the Sector 1 for the last time. Yorkie will be the one with the DRS. He's slightly worse off than Phenom in the terms of ERS. But let's have a look as they come onto this back straight for the last time. DRS wide open. And Phenom's light is flashing. Yorkie's light is flashing. Everyone's flashing. Phenom defends the inside. Yorkie gets as close as he's ever been. And on the exit, will he get a better drive? He's got a very good drive off the exit. Yorkie, this could be a late move for the win from the man. He's going to have to go around the outside of turn 9. And there they are, side by side. Oh,
Phenom's dropped it!
Phenom's gone around! Oh, no!
Yorkie, oh my goodness me, drama right to the final stages of the race. So Yorkie is going to take the victory of the race, and it's going to be his first victory in Tier 2. Junuvain is going to take second place, which is 18 points, but Silverside Boy, 15 points. A 3-point swing is not enough for Junuvain. Actually, he's playing team games! Yorkie giving the victory to Junuvain to secure P2 in the championship for Junuvain. That's a very selfless move from Yorkie. I'll give credit for that. That is a very, very selfless move from the Red Bull. Junuvain takes the victory under the lights of Abu Dhabi and takes second place in the overall championship. Yorkie, a drive worthy of a victory, and has to settle for second place. Silverside Boy taking third, and third place in the Drivers' Championship. Snedden takes fourth, and as well, Fishsticks in the chat is saying that McLaren have took the Constructors' Championship for Tier 2. With the third and fourth place for the McLaren team, 27 points. Alfa Romeo only picking up 4 points, and 5 points actually, with Phenom making that late mistake. McLaren have enough of a swing to take the Tier 2 Constructors' Championship, wrestle it away from Alfa Romeo, as Tijim doing a few celebratory donuts to say a big thank you to the Tier 2s and a massive thank you to the Tier 2s. And a championship fight that couldn't be controlled by anyone. It was controlled and took control by Phenom, but under the lights of Abu Dhabi, that control and that grip just let go at the final few seconds. So it won't be quite the victory celebrations that Phenom wanted, but it's going to be a 1-2 for the Red Bull team, and that rounds out our Tier 2 championship. Congratulations to everyone, and our top 3 drivers this evening. Phenom winning Tier 2, Junuvain second, and Silverside Boy takes third away from Pines, who drops down to fourth after that calamitous start to the race.
Oh, I'm speechless. One thing I've just noticed is that TJ's AI did something completely different on your screen than he did mine.
Trust Codemasters.
Yep, fantastic. But wow, that is that was an ending, and my brain is still trying to work out what on earth happened there. But the team games, the teamwork, the team decision from Yorkie really, really made the difference at the end, as Junuvain picks up the win tonight from his teammate Yorkie. Silverside Boy in P3 picks up the last podium of tonight. just misses out on P2 in the championship, but take nothing away from him. He's done really well this season. So, should we get some people into the party? I don't see why not.
I don't see why not either, but Ginuvane and Yorkie, Max Hall for Red Bull, and Yorkie as well. Mustn't be forgotten from last place on the Dread. He missed qualifying completely and could have won, apart from the selfless act as well to give Ginuvane the victory in Abu Dhabi. Yorkie settling for second place, and Silverside Boy and Snedden making it McLaren 3-4. Your Mo Leader taking it in 5th. Draftmaster recovering for 6th. Stiffmeister 7th. Bolly 8th. Tijim 9th. And Phenom, what could have been for the Alfa Romeo, settling for 10th, dropping it at in the last lap at turn 9. Truly an ending to remember.
I've still not got my breath back.
Oh dear, man. Right.
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I did. I've got a message from Janu who says, "Sorry, mate, I can't join today." So that's fine, no problem, Janu. Thanks for letting me know. We will have a word at the end after we've done P3 and P2, as always. I need a drink.
Well, Nigel did redeem drink and Tom's drink, so that is going to be used for this moment as we get to our virtual showroom and have the McLaren on screen for our 3rd place driver this evening. As we'll let everyone join up the party real quick, and then we can get underway right after me and David catch our breath.
We've been joined by Phenom as well, of course. The champion, definitely a decent replacement for Junu, who won the race.
Well, I think if everyone is here, we get underway. So, I think it only seems fair for you, David, to take us through our 3rd place driver this evening and 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship, Silverside Boy.
Thank you, Cruiser. So, before I start, make sure everyone includes their audio from the party screen. Okey-doke, happy days. So, Gary, an eventful race today. How did you feel after qualifying? Obviously, you had some decent pace, but nowhere near the guys at the front.
No, I think just running the wings too low just affected. I was on 15-15 and changed it to 12-15 and went back to 15-15 in the race, which worked. But I picked up that early damage from Pines, but I got kind of collected by a 4-wide moment in the new hairpin, which put me off. But I think once I came in for the damage, I just said, right, I'm just getting the head down and just try and go as far as I can on the hards, and hopefully there's a late safety car, which there was.
Which indeed there was. It looked like you were really out of the question, but obviously it all sort of spurred a little bit when you saw Pines retire earlier on in the race. Just before that, there of course was the incident which led to him retiring. So he turned around, and I can't help but believe that you assassinated him a little bit.
Well, I didn't actually know he was there. I didn't even see a flag because he wasn't that far up the road. All I saw was just an Mercedes just on the inside turn, and I tried to avoid him, but it was too late, and I just slightly tap him and lose my front end plate. So if I've caused him to retire, I'm sorry, but I honestly didn't see him too late. I had nowhere to go.
Obviously, I was joking. I saw it from your point of view, and yeah, not much you could have done. Anyway, unfortunately, that's how Pines' race finished. But can you talk us through the last few laps at the end of the safety car, and maybe when you saw the people have an incident, you getting passed into what was the top 4 at the time?
Yeah, I was behind Yorkie on the safety car restart. I know Yorkie's quicker than me, so I was like, if I can hold on to the back of him with my fresh tyres like he's got, I might be able to use him to kind of pull me along. But I saw a bit of contact before, like I think it was between Crosscar and Nigel in the first corner. So I got up 2 positions, and then I don't know what happened with grounds. I just come around the final. Luckily, I actually kind of had a half spin and was pushed into the inside because my normal line goes out wide, and that's where everyone was. So kind of a half spin kind of put me in the right position to avoid the incident with grounds and all those lot.
Well, nevertheless, you've come away with a P3 today. You've come away overall with a P3 in the championship preliminarily before the stewards report. Not that I think there's anything that would go against you. So yeah, well done for today, and congratulations on the championship. As I hand over back to the absolute Scottish gale force winds that is Cruiser.
Thank you, David. And just from a McLaren perspective as well, Silverside boy, you absolute legend. Well done, mate, and a brilliant recovery for third place. And as well, speaking of recoveries, LWS Yorkie, who would have thought, second place from last on the grid? What a drive!
Quick.
Who would have thought it? Who would have thought? Not me. Yeah. Yeah. My first podium. I don't know how I did it. I think the safety car helped massively. In fact, it did help massively. And that was my only hope. I was on, I think it was 20 lap old hards when it came out. So perfect timing. And then I think a couple of the guys in front just didn't pit for some reason. And yeah, just fresh tyres were a little better than their used ones. But yeah, more than I could have expected, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. We did see on the stream as well that you were definitely looking to go a bit longer with soft compound tyres in the back of your mind when you started the race, or was it always going to be just a case of hope for that safety car, which, as you mentioned as well, couldn't have been any better timed?
I think, yeah, the longer it went on, I thought I might as well just hang it out, hope for a safety car. And yeah, I think a couple more, I think I was on 80% on my tyres, so yeah, a couple more laps I might have been in trouble. But yeah, worked out. I don't think it could have worked out more perfect, to be honest.
Just shows, man. Just shows that sometimes you can have the perfect race, and as well, I think me and David will agree as well, a very good act as well to give Junuvane the victory and enough points to take P2 in the Drivers' Championship. But as well, you mentioned to us was your first podium in Tier 2, if that is correct. It could have been your first win, so I think we'll both congratulate you as
could
well.
have been, but
Both
yeah, but Janu needs it more. And it had annoyed Gary, so yeah.
Quick.
No love lost there. So I think we've got a bit of a rivalry brewing for next season in Tier 2. Yorkie and
You watch out in the
Silverside boy.
socials. You watch out in the socials, I'll be having me.
There we go, we all have a rivalry. But still...
He's straight in the wall.
Straight up. Right, a bit firm that, but never mind.
But still, very selfless from yourself, Yorkie, and me and David, I'm sure we'll congratulate you on a stellar recovery too, and as well, actually get the Red Bull up on screen for yourself, and for our race winner this evening, and P2 driver in the championship. Junuvane, fortunately, couldn't be here this evening for our interview. However, we do have our Drivers' Championship winner for Tier 2, which will be the American of Phenom, as we get the Alfa Romeo on screen. David, take it away.
Yeah, let's take it away. Obviously, not the best ending to a race that's ever happened, but you are obviously still, of course, the champion. So we talk through tonight's race. So we'll talk about qualifying to start with. Very close at the top towards the end of Q3, Phenom, and did you expect to be really as far up as you were? Did you also expect it to be as close as it was?
Yeah, we were running good times, just practicing, and figured to be up near the top. But yeah, it was pretty close, so it was good. Got tried to step a couple toes between Bolly and myself, so try and get us the best jump on the McLarens, but obviously that didn't work out in the end.
Yeah, of course, you have unfortunately lost out in the constructors championship, but take nothing away from yourself. You had a pretty good race today. Obviously, probably scuppered a little bit by the late call for a safety car. But you've chosen to pit under that. So was that a case of you were always going to pit, or were you gonna just do the opposite of what Junu did in front of you?
Yeah, I saw that it was a big enough gap behind. I would have only have come out sixth, going in for mediums, and then a couple people behind me went in, so I came out third. So I thought it's kind of surprising that Junu didn't go in. So I thought I'd have a real good jump there, but those mediums just fall off so quick for some reason. The hard stayed pretty good there. Wasn't able to get past as fast as I expected, but yeah, it was. I was thinking around lap 1920, if safety cars was going to come out, I was going to go straight in for the mediums.
Yeah, and last of all, last question, which I haven't thought about at all. So obviously, you are the tier 2 champion. So what are your hopes for next season? What do you think you can have as good a season as you did this year?
I would hope so. And just depending on whatever tier I go in or hopefully stay in. I can only race on Fridays, unfortunately, because it's only 2 or 3 p.m. here. But yeah, whatever happens, hopefully have the same sort of results as this season.
Okay, and on that note, once again, congratulations to you, and commiserations for the ending of today's race. But take nothing away, fantastic, especially in this latter half of the season. A very deserved winner of the championship, so congratulations. I'll hand back to you, Cruiser.
Thank you very much, David. And as well, I will say, Phenom, an American dream, not quite the ending you were wanting, but still, the resurgence cannot be underestimated, and a worthy winner of our Season 4 Tier 2 Championship. So I'll pass my congratulations over to you as well.
Yep, thank you.
And I'll pass over as well to David Lawface, because for the final time in Season 4, we have our Totom's Driver of the Day vote. So David, quite a few candidates here, but who's going to get the vote?
Yep. There's a good few names that I could throw out here. There's plenty of decent racing across the board. Some fantastic moves, some all up and down the grid. But I think today, not only for the comeback that he made, even with a little bit of a luck behind the safety car, but to forfeit the potential win for the sake of his teammate in the championship, I'm going to give it to Yorkie today.
I thought you were going to say me for a second. I was like getting excited there. Damn it,
Not on,
David.
Gary.
Now you know
Nah.
how I feel, mate. So there you go, Yorkie giving up the victory, but winning the Driver of the Day vote for this evening. And just want to say as well, a massive thank you to everyone for tuning in across all of our tier campaigns in FPRL. And that will do it for our fourth season of FPRL. We will be back very, very shortly in the new year for our Season 5 campaign. Some new faces on the grid and some new driver promotions and potentially some new champions to be crowned as well. So I'm going to say a massive thank you as well to David Lawface for joining me for the final time in the commentary box.
Yeah, always a pleasure to sit with you, Cruiser. And yeah, it is absolutely a pleasure as always to speak to all you lovely people in chat, to watch all you guys in Tier 2 race, and yeah, watch this space. I think will be as it is officially now the end of Season 4. We'll be coming at you with some social races sometime in the near future. There could be some F1 2021 races in there as well. There might be a brief end of season stream, no 3-hour marathon, unfortunately. No 1 hour piss up in Bidley's backyard again.
No,
Oh.
me and David. Me and
What?
David.
No hot tub stream.
No hot tub stream.
No hot tub
Me
stream.
and David talking about memes.
I don't think it will.
Yeah, fucking good.
Still up in the air, I think, for the end of season show. And as well, as Shadow says, enjoy your Christmas indeed as well. A very Merry Christmas courtesy from all of us here at FPRL. That has been David Lawface saying his goodbyes, unless he's got any more final comments to make.
No, that's it. That's it from me. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Cruiser.
Thank you very much, David, for joining me. And as Monty and Shadow said, Merry Christmas from all of us here at FPRL. Have a very happy new year. And for the final time, this has been Cruiser 1872. Thank you all for watching. And from all of us here at FPRL, good night and a goodbye. We'll see you all in Season 5.
Up
Sod
the
off, Piggle.
McLarens! Up the McLarens!